Hour number two here at the Sports Spectacular. Glad you're with us. Larry Smith, Mike Cagley, Brad Sturdy. We are the Illini guys. We talked a lot last week because we had the big news of this year Rankin from Morgan Park, King Liggins from Brother Rice. Two big pieces, in-state pieces that Brett Bielema's staff able to keep in-house, in-state. In the class of 2026. And Bielema talked about when he first got here, December of 2020, of locking down the state. Programs have come in, other Big Ten programs, Notre Dame, you name it, coming in and taking what they want out of Chicago. Bielema doing a lot to reverse that right now. And Brad, you were mentioning that it was interesting that they're not even stopping there, going out and really going en masse to go have breakfast with some of the biggest names still undecided out there in Illinois, in the state, in the class of 2026.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see them. Yeah, when they're at the original House of Pancakes there with Max Suter from Dunlap up there, and then I think it was six staff members having dinner with he and his family, and then they go down to Decatur and they have a meal with J.C. Anderson on the same day from Mount Zion. These are two of the top tight ends in the country and two of the top three players in the state. And it just goes to show you how important they feel in-state recruiting is. A lot of people don't think that Suter's a kid they can get, but obviously they feel like he is. They're putting in that time. I think they feel really good about where they're at with J.C. Anderson, and they know that they have to get through because he's got some official visits coming up in June. But, man, it's really impressive to see what a great job they do recruiting and making those kids feel like that they want them and that they want them to stay home and be a part of the family.
Yeah, and I go back to the Vikings of the late 90s with their two tight end offense that they had. They had a nice passing attack, and they had a fantastic rushing attack with Robert Smith, the former Ohio State running back. I've often thought that Brett Bielema would be a guy who would have no problem running that type of offense. And with these two guys, he'd have the best tight end duo in the country. I think that's safe to say. It'd be interesting to see what Illinois could do with that type of talent at that position.
Well, and they're so talented, both of them. They're that prototypical modern day tight end that can do a lot of things, right? And I think that's what's exciting about this. And it's great too that I think that they've made some great inroads as well already with Florida. Look at the guys already in this calendar year that they've already gotten verbals from out of the state of Florida, quarterbacks and defensive linemen. And they're no longer the 2-star, 3-star guys. They're 3-star, 4-star guys. As Brad talked about at the top of the show, you begin now, because of the success you've had, because the guys you put in the NFL, you're getting more attraction. And so your net, when you go fishing, it gets a little bit wider.
Yeah, definitely. And they've opened the window, and I guess to national level recruits, 4-star guys, high 4, even for the 5-star kids. And the thing is, the great part about it is, people sometimes, they missed on this kid. Now you don't really worry about the kids you miss on because you're recruiting so many high-level kids. It's about the kids you get because every program, I don't care if it's Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, they miss on guys. There are some guys they don't get. Illinois is in that same boat. But the great part is see them on lists with schools like Alabama and Texas and Florida and et cetera, et cetera. That's what it's all about right there.
And it puts them in a nice place a year or two later if there is an opportunity in the transfer portal to get a guy that you know is talented, that you know something about, whether he's a good fit or not for your program. And Brett Bielema has proven one thing: he can build relationships with kids as good as any of the head coaches that are out there right now. May not have all the money bags of some of those head coaches, but he can build that relationship.
Well, you look at what he's done again, not just Illinois, but like I said, some key recruits in Florida. He's done very well in Ohio, flipping the Bierman kid who's on campus for this spring semester, future linebacker who was a Purdue commit at one point. And with the debacle over there in West Lafayette, he jumped ship and comes over, was greeted with open arms. It's a lot of fun, and it's fun to see. And again, doing the right thing in terms of being very, not only growing talent, but also grabbing those players outside the portal. And we've talked before from the portal. Brett Bielema doesn't lose a lot of key guys to the portal. And that's to your point, Mike, in terms of just being able to build relationships and keep guys around and have them buy into the program. I love seeing Kendrick Prince had a story this week on IlliniGuys.com from Cam Thomas saying, hey, look, we could have gone anywhere this class of 2026, but we knew we were a priority at Illinois. And if you've got that kind of message with a kid who's over in Cincinnati, who's a teammate, high school teammate of Grant Bierman, who, again, is already on campus, that's the message that they're selling. But more importantly, Brad, that's the message that is landing with these teenagers looking for a college home.
No question. It has really hit Brett Bielema. He has really hit it hard on the recruiting trail, and he has made an impact. He makes these guys feel like this is where they belong. Even guys who don't come here feel like this is where they belong. It's crazy when you think about it. I didn't go there, but I felt really good there. But and I went to here, but that's why in 2 years, who knows? I'll be back. So that's where this portal has really changed the way you look at recruiting. It used to be you hang up on a guy when you choose a different school. Now you're like, hey, it's okay, man. I'll see you down the road in 2 years.
Yeah. It's a smart move and to be honest with you, it probably helps these guys in the business world since you don't act that way there either. So it may be a better thing for all people involved to learn how to do this and matriculate through life without making enemies.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, in the world of social media, it's important to be able to know how to get along with people and to not let little things get into your skin because, like you said, it can always come back later. There's no question about that. A little basketball right now. You guys both have been out in May and talking to recruits and watching guys. So much has been made right now of the Illini and what they've done overseas. We are Balkan West for the Illini and State Farm Center coming up here this winter. But the high school recruiting still is important. Who are some contacts and some players that the staff is keeping in contact with for 2026?
I thought there was some big news that, with I think what it might be their most priority target is Alex Constanza, who was from down in Florida. And now he's going to Spire Academy in Ohio this year for 2026. Now there's a lot of talk that Constanza was going to reclassify in 2025. Illinois wanted him to stay in 2026, obviously, because look at what they have in 2025. It'd be hard for him. They got a lot of guys, older guys and so forth. But I think they wanted him in 2026. He and Orlando Antigua are extremely tight, Uncle Orlando. And so this is a very interesting decision to come close. So I guess it's going to be easier for Illinois to get to the games. So I guess that's a positive. But at the same time, this is a kid who's an impact player, a 5-star kid that they would love to add in this 2026 class. I expect him to have an official visit to Illinois on summer or fall, and they feel like they've got a shot at him.
Yeah, and he's got to be paying attention to the NBA draft coming up here in just a month or so. Boy, that's going to be something to see 2 Illinois players drafted in the first round, and they were both one and dones. It's a pretty special thing when you can go 115 years without a one and done and then shatter the record with 2 in a single season. So if you're Costanza, you have to be looking at that saying, I can play there.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at earlier too, in terms of it's a different era right now. It's a different feel what these coaches are doing with that. And to have a guy like Constanza, again, that he's a guy that would have all the usual on his list. Duke, North Carolina, and Kentucky, and Kansas, and Indiana. But like you said, Illinois is right there, and maybe, possibly, could be the front runner for this. What does it say about this program, Brad, in terms of and what you're hearing from the coaches when you've got this kind of player that has Illinois high on his radar? And look, transfer portal I know is big and everyone pays attention, but it's still a big deal when you get that top 10 recruit that makes that announcement and chooses your school.
Well, again, we've talked about it. It's like making the second weekend in the NCAA tournament. It keeps eyes on you. When you're getting commitments from high-level kids, 5-star kids, high 4-star kids that have offers from everybody in the country, the eyes are on your program. And I think that's where Illinois is as a basketball program right now, is they are a team that even when you look at, they can replace a roster and still be ranked in the top 15, top 20, because they're going to be there every year. Everyone expects them to be there. And so that's this, and I think in 2026, now I may be wrong here, but I feel like in 2026, we're going to return to a little bit more normal high school basketball recruiting. And you're going to have not going to be a whole portal new team. You're going to intertwine. Teams are not going to be quite as old because the 5th-year guys are gone. The COVID year guys are gone. It's just it's a different world, I think. And the NIL changes that are expected with this new legislation. So as this happens, I think we're going to see we're going to return to normalcy a little bit. It's still going to be out there, but it'll be a little bit more like it was before.
Yeah, and I do think there's a difference. Even when we first started Illini guys, Illinois was a strong school, but now when Illinois is watching a recruit, people are like, "Oh, Illinois is here." And that's different than it used to be. And when you see you see Jeff Alexander goes to a court, there's people like, well, I wonder who he's watching. You know what I mean? They want to know who the Illinois coaches are watching. It's different than it was a few years ago. And then, as Brad, you've said, a guy like Costanza, would he have even looked at Illinois 4 years ago? Maybe, but
Yeah.
certainly nowadays, not only is he's looking, he's listening, and he's actively engaged, and that's a big difference. And that's the incremental things that Brad Underwood does that I don't think people give him credit for.
Mike, it's the guy with the Vitch on the end of his name. That's who Jeff's watching.
Yes, exactly.
Ivasic, whoever it is, and Ivasic,
Jeff Alexandrovich,
Petrovic, Jakovic, Underwoodovich, Bratislav Sturtovich, whatever.
And wasn't that
whatever.
great? That's the shirt that Terrence Shannon wore
That
in
was
the
awesome.
post game with
That was
Brad
so
Underwood.
cool.
I mean, I tell you, when you look at guys like Terrence Shannon Jr. and Io DeSumo, the things they do for the program and the images that they've carefully crafted and lived by have been really impressive.
Yeah.
No
And it adds to it. We were talking on the Sports IQ the other day about how the art of the presser is lost. And with today's athlete, it's boring, and you don't have moment. You don't have the practice, target practice, or whatever. But you're exactly right. We've got the guys coming on campus here. Brad, take us through here the next couple of months for basketball. When will they be on campus? When can they begin the off-season workouts? Take us through what we can expect at Upton.
Yeah, early in June, around June, I think it's the 9th, 10th range, you'll start seeing these guys come on campus, especially young guys. Older guys, they'll do a little orientation, learn all this stuff. And I don't know if they're young guys, they're just different guys. How about that? And then then the veterans come back a day or two later. They'll be running camps. They'll be working. They'll be scrimmaging, doing workouts, getting in the weight room with Fletch, and getting themselves ready to play in the fall. And they'll be there until really end of the summer term, end of July, have a couple weeks. They get to go home, and then they'll be back for the fall. It's a crash course for about 7 weeks here in the summer, where they're going to play a lot of basketball, work on their game, work on their body, get themselves ready to go. So when they come back in the fall, they're ready to get started.
Yeah, and I think if I was a player coming in, I'd feel pretty comfortable about my ability to play basketball. I'd be a little nervous about what Fletch is going to put me through. And at the same time, they've got all these pictures from the past where they can anticipate, oh man, I'm going to be in so much better shape. I can't wait. Now I just have to survive it.
Exactly. I get to flex, baby, when everyone's back on campus in August. All right. More to come. Keep it here.